there, Wheel of Time community, and welcome to the Wheel of Time Pod-Thru. I'm Teresa.
And I'm Tim.
And together, we're going to walk you through Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time book series. How you doing, Tim?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm doing great. I am super excited that 2019 is almost over, and it is time for 2020, because I cannot do 2019 anymore.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we get started, we just want to remind you that this is a reread. We assume that you've read the entire series, so there will be spoilers. You have been warned. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun-dun.
All right, Tim, what are we going to be doing in today's episode?
Today we're going to be discussing Chapter 39 of the Dragon Reborn, where the girls are kidnapped and join forces with the Aiel to face down a Myrddraal. Chapter 39 is called Threads in the Pattern, and the icon is the wheel.
Here's a summary to act as a reminder for those of you who are not reading along with us. This is a long chapter, y'all, so get comfy. The maidens are impressed by Nynaeve's healing ability, and Aviendha tells her that she owes a blood debt because Daelin is her second sister, or cousin. She tells Nynaeve that there is a ship at the village when she scouted the day before, and Nynaeve wants to get going. Elaine and Egwene have more questions first, the most pressing of which is why the Aiel have come so far. They explain that they're looking for he who comes with the dawn, and about the Aiel prophecy, that he will be of their blood, but raised beyond the Dragon Wall. Aviendha asks where the Supergirls are headed, and Nynaeve tells them Tyr. This obviously means something to the maidens, and Nynaeve rushes the others to take their leave before things can go sideways. We get more exposition about Aiel culture and the Aiel War, and then Elaine tells Egwene that she's pretty sure he who comes with the dawn is Rand, and that her theory is that Rand's mother was a maiden of the spear. Egwene thinks that if what Moraine said was true, Tam and Carrie Althor couldn't be his real parents. Nynaeve sometimes seemed to know some secret about Rand's birth, but Egwene has the snarky thought that she bet she couldn't pry it out of her with a fork. They walk in silence for a while, with Egwene glaring at Nynaeve's back, Elaine frowning at both of them. After a time, Elaine tells Nynaeve that she handled the maidens very well. Not just the healing, but the rest too. She says, "I do not think they ever doubted you were Aes Sedai, or that we all were, because of the way you bore yourself." After a minute, Egwene agrees that she did a good job, and that for the first time, she realized how complex healing is. Nynaeve is surprised, but smiles and murmurs thank you. She affectionately reaches over to give Egwene's hair a little tug, the way she had when Egwene was a little girl, and Egwene sourly thinks that she's not a little girl anymore. Egwene chases the sweet moment away as quickly as it came, and Elaine is frustrated with them both. They walk on in silence, and Nynaeve insists that they stay close to the river, well away from the trees. Egwene thinks it's silly to imagine there would be more Aiel hiding in the trees because the copses aren't that big. She ignores them. But Elaine kept a close watch and was able to scream out warning. Several men stepped out of the trees, slings already whirling. Egwene reaches for Sidar, but she's struck in the head with something and passes out. Egwene comes to, tied across the back of a horse. Her head hurt badly. A large group of men surrounded her, and she couldn't see if the other girls were similarly tied up. Furious with the men and refusing to be taken prisoner again, she tries to channel, but the pain in her head feels like it's going to explode. They arrive at basically a bandit camp, and the men dismount. It looks like there are about 100 men in the camp. Egwene finally gets a look at Nynaeve and Elaine, but both are unconscious. Seriously triggered, she tries embracing the source again. The pain is a little less intense, but she can't maintain her hold. The men notice she's awake, and one of them bashes her head with something, knocking her out again. The next time Egwene wakes, she's in a room with her unconscious friends. She's surprised that they aren't tied up, and she notices that she has the taste of sour wine and something bitter in her mouth. She peeks through the cracks in the wall and sees a dozen men in the adjoining room. The men are waiting for someone, and they talk about selling 3 Aes Sedai to the right buyer. Egwene sees that the men have their great serpent rings. One of the men worries that the girls will wake before the buyer arrives, but their leader tells them that the stuff they dosed the girls with should keep them knocked out until morning. Having heard enough, Egwene tries to wake Nynaeve and is successful. Eggs fills her in on the situation, and Nynaeve recognizes the taste of the herb they were given. Sleepwell root clears a headache so you can sleep, which means the men accidentally helped them recover from the pain of being knocked out. Nynaeve goes to wake Elaine while Eggs talks about what she'd like to do to the person coming to buy her, but Elaine won't wake. Nynaeve thinks her skull is broken and she's dying. Egwene's like, so then heal her, duh. But their captors took Nynaeve's herbs, and she can't do anything without them. Suddenly, Nynaeve grabs Elaine by the shoulders and freaks out all over her, saying that she will not allow Elaine to die on her. Nynaeve shines with the glow of Sidar, and Elaine's eyes and mouth pop open. Egwene gets her hand over Elaine's mouth to stifle any noise, and when she touches her, she caught the edges of Nynaeve's healing. Cold froze her to the bone, meeting heat that seared outward as if it meant to crisp her flesh. The world vanished in a sensation of rushing, falling, flying, spinning. It left all three of them gasping and shaking. Elaine is tired and hungry, but able to channel. Eggs peeks through the wall again and sees that there are 3 Myrddraal who have arrived. One of the Myrddraal picks up Lan's ring from among the 3 great serpent rings as proof that the girls are the 3 it is after. Egwene channels open the lock on the door. Before anything else can happen, black-veiled Aiel come flooding into the room, attacking the men and the Myrddraal. The Aiel kill the bandits quickly, sounds of more fighting echoing from outside. 5 Aiel face off against the 3 Myrddraal when Nynaeve, who had been watching U.S. cavalry films, finally decides it's time for the Supergirls to get involved. They burst out of the room, and Egwene and Elaine hit the Myrddraal with fire. A thin bar of white light shot out of Nynaeve's hands, and the Myrddraal ceased to exist as if they had never been. Elaine asked her, what was that? But Nynaeve doesn't know. She was so angry and afraid, and it just popped out. Balefire, Egwene thought. She did not know how she knew, but she was certain of it. The Aiel unveil immediately, and Egg sees that one of them is Aviendha. 2 dead Aiel lay on the ground, and one of them is Dylan. Nynaeve is pissed because she did not heal Dylan so that she could turn around and die like this. Aviendha tells them that she followed them, but was too far back to help when they were taken. She rounded up more Aiel in the area, including Rhuarc, her own clan chief, and they came to help. After some cryptic conversation, Rhuarc sees Lan's ring, and it seems everyone in the universe knows who Lan is, because he is even a legend in Aiel culture. At dawn, the 19 remaining Aiel escort the Supergirls, now with horses, to Jurine to find a ship. The girls board the Darter, a big fat ship guaranteed to go slow, because there are no other options, and likely won't be anytime soon, and grumpily settle in for a long trip to Tyr.
Nynaeve kind of steps over Aviendha's statement that she owes Nynaeve a blood debt. We've mentioned this before, but it's worth saying again. Having to go back and forth between being furious and calm enough to be civil to other people has got to be so hard. Mm-hmm. She just finished healing Dylan and has not had a chance to shift gears. Fortunately, Aviendha and the other maidens just write it off as Nynaeve acting like a wise one. But when someone says that they are indebted to you for saving the life of someone they hold dear, it's not a good idea to just brush it away. Mm-hmm. We get another great foreshadowing here when Egwene thinks if she were as afraid of something as the Aiel obviously were of the rivers, could she make herself face it the way that they did? She has no idea that it is because of what she will learn from the Aiel on how to face fear that she will become the kind of Amyrlin that she becomes. But she is definitely not there yet.
Yeah. This is also one of those reoccurring instances of the girls underestimating how brave they actually are.
Yeah.
Like, the boys have the reoccurring joke of how the other 2 always know more about how to talk or act around women than they do.
Yeah.
For the girls, they're always thinking how they wish they could be as brave as the others.
Yeah. Huh.
All the while risking their lives and facing down Forsaken and whatnot. Like, that's their reoccurring joke. Egwene is thinking about dealing with the Black Aja, and she thinks, well, there's no bravery in that because she has to hunt them or else wait for them to come after her. So it's not the same thing. Nope. No bravery in that at all.
Wow. No, yeah. Knowing what we know, it sounds like Amos personally selected these 4 maidens to make sure that Aviendha came home. Do you think? Maybe, possibly?
I actually don't think so.
Okay.
Like, at least that's not how I read it. If anything, I think the wise one sent Rhuarc to make sure she gets home. Like, the letter that they send to Moraine in the next book specifically asks her to show Rhuarc the portion about sending Aviendha to Ridian, so she can't get out of it. I do think it's possible that Sulin, who is the head of the maidens, if I'm remembering correctly, left Avienda's friends behind to accompany her for one last adventure if she managed to get away from the Wise Ones. But I don't think that Amos would have set it up for her to go. You know, like they see her training as duty that she's shirking. So, like, while Amos sympathizes with how hard it is for Avienda to give up the spear, ultimately her stubborn insistence to stay a maiden is her acting childishly and not something to be encouraged. You know?
You know, I like that interpretation much better. Like Sulin sending them after to make sure she came home. You're right, because they wouldn't see it as shirking. They'd see it as one last hurrah before she has to leave the sisterhood.
Yeah, the maidens would. Like, not the Wise Ones.
But not the Wise Ones, yeah.
I don't think that she would have left them to make sure she comes home. I think she would have known that if Avienda was trying to go on her own, she'd never be able to get away. But if there were others around, she might be able to escape the Wise Ones for just a little bit longer.
Just a little bit, yeah.
But I definitely do not think any of the Wise Ones were like, let her have the last hurrah, you know? Like, even Amos, like, I don't think so.
Okay. All right. So, I agree with you there. I would think it was off there.
Yeah. Besides, they super handed Ruark to go. So, I'm pretty sure they sent Ruark specifically to go fetch Avienda.
Makes sense. He is her clan chief.
Mm-hmm. And kind of her father figure.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, at least that's kind of what I see happening with their relationship.
A little bit, yeah. Because he's kind of that way in general, but yeah.
True. He does, yeah. Tyr has special significance to the maidens, though they don't explain why to the girls. But we know that a few chapters back, Gaul told Perrin that Aiel prophecy says when the stone of Tyr falls, they will leave the threefold land at last. It may seem like a coincidence when the elves show up in Tyr later, but Jordan did a pretty good job of laying the groundwork for getting them there.
He really did, yeah.
Yeah. So Elaine puts it together pretty quickly that Rand is he who comes with the dawn. And I love the part where she says, quote, Egwene, Rand does look like an Aiel. Well, he looks like pictures I've seen of Tigraine too, but she vanished before he was born, and I hardly think she could have been his mother anyway. It's a little wink and a nod from Jordan, and I can picture him saying to us, I'll catch you on the reread.
You know, like for years, fans would just get so pissed when they would ask him questions about, so what's going to happen here? What's going to happen here? And he'd be like, read this, just keep reading, but reread. It's all there. I trust you. And there was little things like this, like, oh, it was way back here. Because this doesn't come out for like another 3 books. Like Rand doesn't figure it out for at least a couple more books, but yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, I can't remember. He's in the waste somewhere, I think, when he finds out. But I don't know if it's this book or if it's Shadow Rising or if it's Fires of Heaven.
Got it. But the point is, Jordan put all these here way ahead of time, under our noses.
Just little stingers for us on the reread, like,
Yeah. So just when we're about to see Egwene and Nynaeve make some headway with being nice to each other, we're right back to where we started because Egwene just can't chill.
Right?
It's a good thing they get attacked because this is way past getting old.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Okay, Egwene is the worst. We all know this.
Yes, we do.
But I do have to say that I feel really bad for her when they're attacked and kidnapped. Like, she already has such bad PTSD, and she gets majorly triggered here.
Yeah, she really
with the added trauma, you know? Yeah. Like, and I mean, this is just a pit stop on the trauma bus because we'll be seeing plenty more of this when they get to Tyr.
Yeah.
And, like, it doesn't excuse all of her behavior, but I do feel really bad for her.
That's true. I lose sight of that, too. So
Yeah. It's easy to lose sight of it because she's terrible. And not all of it comes from her trauma. Like, a lot of it is just her. But, I mean, she's suffering in this book.
Really is. She is.
So, I'm trying to give her a break. She just makes it difficult. I really, really do not like Egwene. Anyway, I'm trying to give her a break, Tim. Help me out here.
Okay, I'm with you. I'm going to give you credit where credit is due. Yes. Okay. It's interesting that Jordan chose to give us a quick reset on where the chapter is headed here by having Egwene wake up only to pass out again. Like, and is it wrong that I laugh when Egwene tries to appeal to the captors from a place of strength? She is barely conscious, about to throw up, and still bound, so she can't even move. Like, WTF, Egwene?
Yeah, so I think he has Eggs wake up because he needed to let us know the situation in the camp. Egwene can only see the outer room when she peeks through the cracks in the wall. So she can only see about a dozen people.
That's true. That's very true.
This way, we know that there are 100 men outside and they're in like a bandit camp and so on and so forth. So, I don't know. It's a clunky way of doing it, though.
Yeah.
Also, okay, Egwene has now been knocked unconscious twice in succession.
Right?
Like, we're talking blunt force trauma and major concussions. There's no way she'd be the first to wake again.
No.
And be as lucid as she is, you know?
Yeah, that's a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, like, I don't care how good that sleep well route is. There's just no way. Head injuries are serious, and anything that knocked you out for more than a minute or two means brain damage.
Yeah. At least trauma that needs to be recovered from, yeah.
Yeah, like, no, she's not doing fine. It's not happening. And I love that Nynaeve is able to recognize the sleep-well root just by its aftertaste, even not for the sour wine. Like, she knows her herbs backwards and forwards. Say what you will about Nynaeve, she was one hell of a wisdom.
She really was.
Yeah. So Nynaeve breaks through one of her blocks, which is great. I kind of forgot that she relied on her herbs because the anger block is so much bigger. But this is the first time she manages to heal without her herbs.
Right.
And it does not go smoothly. She says that doing it that way was like peeling her own skin off. Luckily, she refines her technique, so her healing is less dramatic in the future. But this was interesting.
Yeah, that might, given what happens to her later too, that might actually be a hallmark of getting past your block, is that, like, that first time through it is, like, horrible. Like, it's...
Maybe.
The power just comes flooding in. And
at least she didn't have to almost die this time.
True,
so
true. That's very helpful. So, how powerful is Nynaeve?
Oh my gosh.
Powerful enough to heal Egwene by proxy. Mm-hmm. Because she touched Elaine and it kind of like spilled over into Egwene. Mm-hmm. This is really cool. Like she channels so much of the power that all three of them are overwhelmed by the pain of it.
Yeah.
Sound like she channeled a crap ton of power to me. And Elaine is fully healed from a cracked skull like it was nothing.
Yeah. Like, it must have been a huge surge of the power.
And this is one of the things I really like about how Jordan writes this story. The Supergirls activate their powers, and they're all psyched up to kick some ass and take some names, and they look through the cracks in the wall, only to find 3 fades there instead of the men that they expected. And the second you realize that one of them has picked up Lan's ring, you know that all the bad guys are about to have a really bad day. Like, I'm already playing out the fight scene in my head before it even starts.
Okay, so I don't get how the Myrddraal know about Lan's ring. Like, his ring proves that these are the girls that they're after, but why? Like, who even knows that Lan gave Nynaeve his ring? How would the Myrddraal know about it?
Well, I think you're right that who would know that Lan gave Nynaeve the ring? No one really knows, but that ring is legend.
Right.
And like when he gives it to Nynaeve, he's like, show this to anybody and they will send help, or they will get me to come find, like, there's a reason he gives her the ring. Right,
but how would the Myrddraal know that she has it?
Because Lan has fought enough of the Shadow Spawn in his entire life and his entire like career as a warrior. I assume that even his enemies recognize his own signet ring.
No, I'm not saying they don't recognize it as Lan's ring, because they know who Lan is. I'm saying, how does the Myrddraal know that Nynaeve has Lan's ring?
Oh, that's a good question.
He looks at Lan's ring and he's like, 3 Aes Sedai, and one of them holds this. These are the ones that I'm looking for. But why does he know that they have Lan's ring? Like, how does that prove that those are the ones he's looking for? That is my question.
I don't have a good answer for that other than dark friends.
Yeah, but, like, so I thought about that. I'm like, okay, well, you know, maybe Landon sort of knew, but, like, how would Landon know? Like, I was trying to work it out because, you know, like, the dark friends have, like, a communication network.
Right.
So if some of the dark friends in the tower knew, they could have let the Myrddraal know, okay, fine. But, like, how would they have known?
My best guess, and this is just me shooting from the hip because I haven't had a chance to really think about this. My guess is that when Nynaeve went to take her accepted test, she had the ring at that time. So there's an Aes Sedai somewhere who saw her disrobe with that necklace around her neck with that ring on that necklace and take it off before her accepted test.
Well, Sheriam would have seen, because Sheriam's there for the test.
Right, which means if we're to accept the idea that Jordan knew Sheriam was Black Aj all the way back in the beginning, then she could have very easily communicated that this is how you find her.
I guess.
Now, I'm 100% walking on thin ice here, knowing that I'm stretching this, trying to make it work. But that's how I can make it work.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that would make sense. Well, okay, no, it doesn't make sense, but it would work. It would work, but yeah,
it begs a lot more questions than it answers. But yeah, that's one way to explain it.
Okay, I'll let that one go.
Yay! There are a lot of little things we pick up in this chapter about the rules of how the power works. Like the way Nynaeve's healing spills over from Elaine to Egwene. Like Egwene using Earth to pick the lock in the room, and how the Fades can sense channeling because one feels an itch when Egwene picks the lock. I like that we're getting big and little uses of the power popping up side by side. It makes it feel like it's real to have an extraordinary thing and a mundane thing both come out in the same scene.
Okay, yeah.
And total expectation subversion, we're denied our power smackdown. Instead, we get our first fight with the Aiel that are facing off against an enemy. We've encountered them in the story before, and Perrin fought alongside Gull, but this is different. This is a coordinated strategic assault on this building that's more akin to a SEAL team moving into an enemy bunker, and not the kind of fighting that we've seen up to this point. The Aiel dominate, and then they face off against the Fades, taunting them as they do it. It's just really cool.
Yeah.
After the Game of Thrones TV show, there's been some talk that people don't think Robert Jordan's series is that graphic. And then I read scenes like how Egwene takes down the Fades with fire. Quote, "Flames burst out of the three Myrddraal, spouting in every direction, and they shrieked like splintering bones jamming a meat grinder." Now, I grew up on a farm, and I've used a meat grinder before, and this just rings so true that it makes me shiver. To the point where I don't even want to know how Robert Jordan knows what the sound makes. But it just creeps me out.
Balefire. It keeps popping up, doesn't it?
It sure does.
First Rand magically discovers it, and now Nynaeve. Now, don't get me wrong. This is super cool, but it doesn't make sense.
Okay.
In Rand's case, he's the Dragon Reborn, so he's got leftovers from his past life, like, bleeding through.
All right.
It's convenient, but it has been consistent over the first 3 books, and it stays consistent throughout the series. But why is Nynaeve just popping out balefire without knowing what it is? Like, I get why she discovers new and interesting ways to heal that no one thought was possible, because healing's her thing.
Yeah.
But how does balefire fit into that?
You know, that's a good question. I don't know, other than it was a real cool thing to do.
It was cool, but, like, it makes no sense.
Yeah, like, maybe Egwene pulling it out, because we have indications that she is a rebirth of various different possible people.
Like the old blood speaks within her or whatever. Like, I guess I'd be more willing to go with Egwene accidentally discovering it
Right.
than Nynaeve. Like, it doesn't make any sense for Nynaeve.
Because there's very strong indications in the story that she's actually the rebirth of one of a couple different really powerful Aes Sedai queens from the back. Like we've got that. We don't have that with Nynaeve. So
No, we don't.
Other than the fact that she's of Manetheren.
Yeah, but that hasn't manifested with Nynaeve.
And I don't think it really ever does.
With Egwene. I don't think so either. So it doesn't make any sense. No, again, it is super cool and I am on board.
Absolutely.
But, like, it doesn't make any sense. Also, for supposedly Forbidden Weave, our heroes get a lot of traction with Balefire. Like, they use it all the time.
They sure do. Yeah. Wow. So much is going on with the conversation between Aviendha and Ruark. Right from the start, I liked this guy. Mm-hmm. He's older for an Aiel, and he carries himself as a person who's seen a lot of things in his life, and is not really surprised by much. But he also has a what will come kind of vibe that is just so soothing and calming. And his comment, the Steppe Chiefs will take their turns and try to decide if they truly wish to go to Ruadine when I die. It's not quite saying, I don't like being in charge, but it's more like, let them taste what they've been craving for and see how they like it. Ruark's not power hungry, and he's just a really cool guy.
He is a really cool guy. I like Ruark a lot.
Yeah.
We get some cool details about the Aiel, but they'll all be rehashed when we travel to the Waste in the next book, so we're going to hold off and wait to dig into the Aiel then. Like, we don't want to talk your ears off about the Aiel here in the Dragon Reborn, and then be stuck in the Shadow Rising like, oops, we've already talked about this. Like, that would be silly. So
That would be.
Yeah, so we're going to plan well, and we're going to save it all for the next couple books when we're surrounded by Aiel constantly.
Because we will be.
Yeah.
As the girls get on the ship, I always get a sense of relief.
Oh, okay.
Like, they've had their adventure, they're back on a boat, and they're moving forward. Like, I realized this time that the moment they get off the ship, I'm constantly afraid of something happening to them, even knowing how the story ends. And it's just nice to see them back on track and heading where they mean to go. Yeah.
Although I also really liked the description of this ship. How it was, like, big and round, and it just, they're like, oh, is it fast? And the captain's like fast? Why would you need a fast ship?
Have you seen this?
Yeah. Like, oh, that ship, that's what a fast ship gets you. That shipwreck? No. We're good.
Something
and
about
the girls are like, oh, God, why?
Yeah. Slow and steady.
Mm-hmm. Slow and steady gets you to Tyr when you're supposed to get there so that Matt can come save you.
Right. Plot, what? Yeah, okay. That's it for Chapter 39 of The Dragon Reborn. Join us next week to discuss Chapters 40 and 41, where Tom is grumpy, Matt is heroic, and Moiraine threatens Fail.
Woohoo! We hope that you enjoyed this episode of the Wheel of Time Pod-Thru.
We'll see you again next week. Make sure that you rate and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts or whatever your favorite podcatcher might be. If you could leave us a positive review, it would really help us out. It makes us more visible so more people can find us. You can tweet us at Pod-Thru or email us at whatpodthru@gmail.com and tell us your thoughts on anything we covered today.
That's WOTPODTHRU@gmail.com. Or find our Wheel of Time Pod-Thru channel on YouTube. Like, subscribe, ring the bell. You know the drill. Thanks, everybody. Happy New Year. Be safe. And we hope the wheel weaves you in our direction again soon.